And now, it's time for the show that breaks down the options market. From unusual activity alerts to market updates and trading strategies. If it involves puts and calls, then our all-star panel will break it down. It's time to hit the Option Block. With your host, Mark Longo from theoptionsinsider.com and co-hosts Mike Tusaw from KnowYourOptionsInc.com and Mark Sebastian from OptionPit.com. The Option Block is brought to you by Options Express. Don't spend time worrying about your broker. At Options Express, security, stability, and account protection are the most important responsibilities to our customers. Secure account access, enhanced financial protection, entrusted with over $7 billion in customer assets, established financial stability. Options Express lets you trade with confidence. Stocks, options, and futures, all in one account. Trade with a specialist. Visit optionsexpress.com/OXradio to open your free account. Options Express is a member of FINRA, SIPC, and NFA.
Welcome back to the Option Block, and I hope all of our listeners out there had a great weekend and you have indeed recovered from the extraordinary confluence of awesomeness that was the live show last week. That was really just a great time. I hope everyone here on the panel had a great time as well last week.
I know I did.
Yeah, I could not have had more fun.
Yeah, we did. Here, it just ended about an hour ago too, right? So I mean,
yeah, listeners don't know we had a 72-hour marathon afterwards where we just kept going nonstop. That was just for us, though. It was our own entertainment. We didn't record it at all.
It was insane, but no, it ended up being really, really fun. I don't know if there was a lot of ways that could have been more fun, actually, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, it worked out fairly well. There was a lot of, for us anyway here, there was a lot of fun logistics that went into it, making sure, the venue worked, making sure we had the equipment for it, making sure all the equipment worked and we could get it all there, making sure it sounded good, making sure we could record it and had people to man all this new equipment that we were buying, because I sure as hell wasn't going to man it and run the show at the same time. So there's a lot of fun stuff to go into that, but it all worked out fairly well in the end.
For those of you wondering, I'm doing this from outside of my my condo because I locked myself out of the house and my wife is out with my kid on a walk.
We have quite the group today. We have Mr. Grigus. Well, I'll introduce the whole panel then, starting off with Mr. John Grigus from Options Express 3 times in a row now. This might be a new record for you, Mr. G.
it is some kind of record. I don't know what the fans are going to do because the listeners, because it's truly incredible that I can be here 3 days in a row, But I did like that comment about Sebastian, first-time parent. You probably have no sunscreen on the kid.
No, yeah. Well, I don't, at least, she's with the wife, so there's a shot there. But if it was me,
oh, okay.
No.
Sunscreen is the wife's department, definitely.
He'd be lucky if he was wearing a diaper if I had him.
And then, so Mr. Grigus, you have recovered then from the drinking bonanza that was the live event.
Yeah, I was able. I did not know they'd be serving beer there, to my surprise, but I took full advantage of it once arrived. As well did Rob and Tim, the other guys from OX, and Sebastian. Yeah, it was good. It was good.
That was good. I played the teetotaler for most of the show, but I had some afterwards.
No, John and I were the, we're of the ilk where we actually get more interesting as we drink. Other people are not. So. We went right after that booze.
There you go.
Yeah.
And that, of course, listeners, is the Seabass, good old Mark Sebastian, who is dialing in from his stoop, apparently. What, do you have a laptop on your lap on your outside your front porch or something?
I'm at my back porch, but yeah. So, but it's a nice day.
It actually sounds fairly decent, doesn't it? It sounds maybe even a little better than your normal setup.
If this was Thursday, it would be a whole lot worse. When it was 110.
Oh, yeah. And then joining us for the technology/logistics kerfuffle is, of course, the man from the mountains, Uncle Mike Tusaw, who is dialing in via phone today because his computer conked out. I think the live event just fried everyone's technology for the week.
I think it must have. It was amazing. I had to, one of my email accounts isn't working. I had to email you from my other email account, and it was just like a chain of reactor today. So it's just something else.
Well, I think maybe all those BBIs are breaking everything in the old office there, Uncle Mike.
It must be. It must be. Thank God for Brokers Express execution to where you can dial stuff in by phone just in case.
Just in case. There we go. All right, and with the team assembled and mostly sober and some of our technology working anyway, we will dive right into the trading block.
The trading block.
All right, and welcome to the old trading block. This is, of course, the portion of the show where we break down what has been trading, what's been lighting up, what's been moving the markets, and it was a down day on the street today. Let's mix things up a bit and start with the old NASDAQ. The NASDAQ closed down 16 handles at 28.42. The S&P closed down 7.5 handles to 1337.5, and good old Dow closed down 88 to 12,592. Fixed cash on an up day, surprise, surprise. Of course, given the way it's been performing of late, that is a moderate surprise. Close to up to $1.83 or 1.83. I'm sorry, I caught myself in the middle of saying that. Up 1.83 points to 19.35. I haven't done that in a while, so it's been good. I've finally broken myself of that habit, I think. But it is a damn frustrating habit to break yourself of. That's for sure. All in all, a lot of stuff combining today to pull down the old markets. There's still, of course, that ongoing kerfuffle in Washington where everyone has their own idea about how to salvage our debt situation, all at the very last minute, of course. None of this could have happened a year or two ago, but it has to happen right up to the wire, which is American politics at its finest. Of course, all of this debate over the debt and all these other macro issues are sending the metals off into the stratosphere. Uncle Mike, I'm guessing you're a happy man today that you took off the upside of those collars.
Always a happy man, but that does make it a little bit happier. In terms of the kerfuffle, is that the word? I always learn a new word every time I'm on this show.
I try to make it at least throw in a few $5 or $10 words every episode, just for our listeners. You know, they like to learn something on their commutes.
That's a good one. But yeah, with the kerfuffle, a couple things that I thought were interesting is watching the E-mini futures. We actually opened on Sunday night, probably about 20 points down almost instantly. If you look at a chart of the S&P minis, then it recovered a little bit, and then it hasn't really moved too much since Sunday. So I'm curious to see tomorrow if we have a continuation, because there's a lot of movement throughout the day today, and I'm curious to see what day trader John has to say about what he did throughout, what his BVI was today in terms of his day trading. This seems like a pretty fun day trading day today.
Let me guess, Grigus, since we're down again, you had to double down on the longs today, I'm guessing.
No, yeah, I went long, but I still had the same position that I had last Tuesday, and I think that the market, if you look at the E-mini NASDAQ, I think it made contract highs today, intraday. No, I was buying on dips, and then I actually took a short position late in the day when it broke the previous day's close, which was right around 28.5, I believe. So, I mean, and then went back down to 20. So, no, I actually had a positive day scalping E-minis. It's always, they're like $700 in margin requirements. So how can you not? I finished up all my work. What else I got to do? Let's just plop one of these on, see what happens. But no, Mike is right. It was a good day to be, a scalper or day trader because there was a lot of movement. But I really thought we'd finish positive today. But only down 5 in the September E-mini NASDAQ. Not bad at all.
It's got to be pretty much. It's got to be fun to be on a trading desk call with John during the day because your customer, you call in, hey, I'm hung on these, and then John's like, oh, wait a minute. I gotta close out I gotta scalp out of my E-mini futures. E-minis. 1 second, please. Okay, now I can execute.
2-minute explanation. Then I go. What, I'm sorry. What did you say? Because I was just.
What was that again? I was just
position was going against me.
I was just scalping quarters.
That's the reason you really can't trade successfully when you have other commitments. I mean, I just put it out. I have an idea.
I agree 100%. It's a huge hassle to do both at the same time.
It's impossible.
It really is. It just gets in the way so much, and so if you're really going to be super active, it's hard to. It's almost impossible to be working for somebody else. It really is. So, that's one of the issues I face every day. You know,
that's why people need either, someone like a KYO managing their money for them, or they need someone like an option pit who can at least mentor them in what to do better, and what to do, make it a little bit easier for them. Because a lot of people out there are, they do have 9-to-5 jobs, but they maintain the illusion of them being a day trader or being a very active high-end retail trader, and it takes a serious commitment. That's why I always joke about some of the people we see appearing on CNBC like all day long and going on about also how active trading they are. Because I say to myself, how active can you be in and out if you're just nonstop talking on CNBC all day? Who's managing your positions while you're on talking to Maria Bartiromo and that sort of thing?
Yeah, it's insane. 'Cause I know from real life, I have a very boring portfolio in comparison to John, and it's very in terms of what I manage, and I seriously get nervous when I go to the bathroom for a little bit. So I mean, it's really, I don't see how you can do it if you're not really watching it all the time.
Well, I think my average time in a trade is like 40 minutes, or less.
Yeah, well, I would get nervous if I go to the bathroom for a little bit as well. I mean, you're only in your 30s. You shouldn't have any of those prostate problems yet, Mike.
Well, especially when we're trading natural gas, you gotta worry about stuff like that.
No, he is right, though. I went to get up at lunch at noon today, and I sat back down. I go, I'm not going anywhere. I was like my own risk manager. I put myself back in the chair. I forgot I still had a position on it. I'm like, I got to sit here and stare at it. So
just like the good old days. Skipping lunch on the floor, all that fun stuff, yeah.
But if the E-mini NASDAQ for September contract, I think today was its session high, 24.34.5. So, I mean, the upside target, the upside momentum, I think, is still there.
Sebastian, you okay? Did you get mauled by the neighborhood pit bull while you're sitting on your front porch there?
No, just putting my legs up. No, my thought is that right now it's a weird market in that positive news is not really doing as much as it should. And I feel like the next piece of negative news could get, along with this debt ceiling, just the fact that vol is consistently rallying right now, could really send us diving. I mean, really. Last week when we closed at 1325, the S&P or the VIX was at 1910. Now we close 1337. The VIX is at 1935. Every time we get one of these pops, the vol goes up more and more and more. We are winding up for a big explosion downward.
Are the put sellers backing off again now? Finally, are they still?
The put sellers have never come back. They have never come back. So they're today, classic down day, almost no premium sold into the market today. And so I think we've got this case where we are built up where there is bad things are coming. I don't like what I see. One bad piece of news. It could be employment data, which is a week from Friday. It could be, anything. And we're looking at a really, really, really ugly, ugly day.
See, but I think we've had that bad piece of information. We had Greek downgraded again. U.S. at risk of, what bad number? We had 18,000 jobs created when 90,000 was expected, and we're higher from the levels that we were.
I know, but it's weird. But the vol keeps ramping up. I don't know what the deal is.
I don't know. Maybe we actually won't get a deal going. Because my opinion, I think we will get a deal with the debt ceiling. I think August 2nd is the deadline for it. But
Correct.
If we don't, it's not the end of the world, but, that could be some scary stuff. And, with vol going up, maybe the market is trying to tell us something. You never know.
What's the market on S&P sell-off if we don't get that deal in place or they announce, some impasse ahead of time? How many handles are we dropping in the S&P?
60?
80, yeah.
Yeah, I'd say that.
Yeah, I was thinking in the 70 or so range. Yeah, so yeah, it'll be an intriguing day. I guess the corollary to that then is where are we looking on the old VIX cash? Then we got to be well into the 30s, I would hope at that point, if not the 40s.
Yeah.
Yeah, the VIX from the tsunami was what, 31?
Yeah, I think we get to. I think you could see 30, 35, 40. 40 might be a stretch. I think we get to 35 on that day.
And speaking of bad news and bad comments, I know good old Mr. Grigus, you wanted to comment on what's been all this fun stuff going on over at ETFC, of course, good old E-Trade Financial Corp. We talked about their options activity on one of the recent shows. Actually, I believe it was the live show. Even more fun stuff and even more bad mouthing has been coming out of Citadel since we did that live show. So you've been watching E-Trade pretty heavily. Obviously, they're in your same neck of the woods there in terms of businesses.
Yeah, I mean, you'd be amazed at how many of our customers also have other accounts at other firms for particular reasons. You know, it seems like a lot of customers that have a higher net worth will do their derivatives trading with us, options, complex options, and futures, and will have like their IRA, which they don't trade options in over at Schwab or TD or E-Trade or stuff like that. But yeah, they're kind of saying, oh great, you guys have been bought by Schwab, and now here comes E-Trade. But from what I read, it sounds like that Ameritrade is just looking at them, but I wanted to see what everyone's opinion on the probability of them actually buying them. I think the timing of the Citadel and then this Ameritrade, hey, we're going to take a look see at the books, kind of leads up to we're going to purchase them or make a bid.
I think so. It makes sense. I mean, why not, right?
You're concentrating a lot of accounts and a lot of assets, particularly on the on some targeted areas like the derivative side, under one banner there. They might get a few negative glances from the boys in D.C., I think, if they announce that acquisition.
If the SEC stops that, come on, really?
I don't think it would be SEC. I think it would be DOJ guys.
That would be the worst thing ever.
You forget those guys broke up the Whole Foods acquisition of some local grocery chain because they're going to corner the market on organic hummus. So I think they might look askance at something like TD gobbling up yet another firm right after they acquired Thinkorswim a couple years ago.
Well, I know, but TD, I still don't think they have I mean, even with all that, what percent of the market do they have? 10% of the option market? 15? And certainly not the commodity market, I mean, that would be, if that happens, that would be the biggest overreaction of all time, then you have to stop OX and Schwab from merging.
Then you'll have a handful of players left in the option space. Who do you have? You have a handful of independents like Options House and Trade King. Trade King's obviously just sniffing around for a buyer. And then you have Schwab and OX becoming, the Leviathan on one side and the TD, TOS / E-Trade on the other side. Granted, E-Trade doesn't have many options players left, but they have a few. Mostly, I think most people have an IRA with them or something else like that they have left over from the heady days of the .com, and so they haven't really moved it. I think I have one or two E-Trade accounts lingering around somewhere. I never open them just because I've been so disgusted with the E-Trade platform for so long. I've been banging my head against the wall for years with those guys over at E-Trade, telling them, hey, here's X, Y, and Z what you need to do to make your platform relevant for options traders, and they've been dragging their feet in terms of actually doing it. So, not surprisingly, they don't get much in the way of options traction.
No, they're dummies. So,
well, let's just say they're laggards in the realm of options.
By the way, do you know how tall the voice of the E-Trade baby is?
How tall?
Yeah.
I was wondering that myself the other day.
The guy is 6'7".
Oh, the voice actor.
The voice of the E-Trade baby is 6'7".
Wow.
Where did you learn this little tidbit of information?
I heard it on a rival podcast called Doug Loves Movies.
I don't know if a movie podcast is quite considered our rival.
Of course, every podcast is our rival.
Everyone's our enemy.
This is interesting. It's not just a financial podcast. It's an entertainment podcast.
I see Oprah. She's our number one rival. I'm gunning for her still. And whoever she's putting in her place, Rosie, I forgot who it is. And her Suze Orman.
We're only 30% options anyway, right? I mean, the other 70% is just
there's a lot of
four guys in a studio.
Yeah.
Of course, there's the heavy drinking, and then there's 80s references makes up the rest of the show. Speaking of the rest of the show, let's get on with it and roll right into the odd block.
The odd block.
All right, and welcome to the odd block. It's kind of fun. Maybe I'll have to figure out a way to play those transitions live when we're recording too, because I think this makes it a little more fun to hear all the various transitions. I know you guys were pretty surprised to hear some of them live last week, I think. All right, welcome to the Odd Block. This is indeed the portion of the show where we discuss the interesting and or the unusual activity that was lighting up the options tape today. And we're going to kick things off with Express Scripts, ticker symbol ESRX. They closed today at $56.65, down 65 cents, or about 1%. This is a name that does about 7,000 contracts a day. I think that's actually inflated given some of the recent activity that's been going on in this sector. And they did about 65,000 contracts today. And this is all of this activity has pretty much been driven over some of the news we saw coming out last week that a rival firm, Medco Health Solutions, was going to buy these guys out. Oh, no, actually, I'm sorry. Express Scripts agreed to purchase a rival, Medco Health Solutions.
Yeah, I thought it was the other way around there.
Yeah.
Like, oh, man, I read that wrong.
I was misreading this one. And so the stock has since been off a bit, and we saw some pretty large prints going up last week on Friday, actually, in the January contracts that seemed to be people selling large blocks of puts against this to buy a big upside call spread. And today we saw something similar going on, someone continuing this strategy. We saw someone coming in this morning and selling 8,000 of the Jan 42 half puts for about $219 each, and then he spread that off against a purchase of the same number, 8,000 of the Jan 65.80 call spread, and he netted the spread out to 334, so the whole thing nets out to $1.15. So essentially, he's adding on to what he was doing on Friday and purchasing a lot of substantial upside call spreads out in January, so long-term upside call spreads, and he's financing it with the large sales of downside puts here on the 42 half strike. And this spread, if you look at it just from a pure break-even perspective, this thing starts to look nice around 66.15 up here on the and then of course this guy really looks really good if this thing gaps up about 40% up to about 80 to break through on the upside of that spread. But this is kind of this is analogous to what we talked about last week with some similar trades. There were a lot of stupids going up last week as well. People were financing stupids with put sales. This week they're financing straight up upside call spreads. And Grigus, sounds like you've been following this deal a lot. What do you think of this trade here? You like the upside in Express Scripts?
Yeah, well, I looked at it about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, purely for I had some friends that were looking to get into that company, and I always thought they were a market leader, and I checked out the chart, and it was, it's off its high. It was trading just above 51.5, and it was down from 60. I didn't see why this news would make Express Scripts rally, though. I mean, usually when a company announces a merger or takeover or a buyout, they neutral it down. I mean, here it jumped from 52.30 up to 56 and change. So I mean, I'm not sure why that reaction.
Shows you how good of a how synergistic the people think the company is. You only see that when people are dead sure that it's a perfect acquisition. So
I mean, all the headlines seem to back that up too. I mean, they keep saying it's a perfect fit, and usually it's like, oh, it's bad for one company or the other, but they're both popped.
There was one interesting thing I heard out of this. This is from Stephanie Link at The Street. She and I were talking about it. She said, well, what do you think about United Healthcare Group out of this? They had a contract with Medco, and now that they've done this Express Scripts contract, they're going to bring everything in-house, and it could add 30 cents a share in earnings.
There you go. It's kind of like the people playing Redbox to play the Netflix deal. It's a competitor is going to roll this kind of stuff in.
United Healthcare was outsourcing that whole thing to Medco. They're going to bring it in-house. That's real, and then supposedly it's going to make them a ton of money, especially with all the generics coming on the market in the next year.
You think pulling those sort of pharmacy services in-house wouldn't be that additive to the bottom line because they are such a expense, but I guess maybe in this case, United Healthcare has the scale to make it pay off.
Yeah, that's what she was thinking. So I looked at it and it made sense. So
you're a fan of this long-term upside here then in ESRX and financing it with the 42 half puts?
It's an interesting trade. Let's just put it, I don't know if I'm a fan, but it's an interesting trade.
So you heard it here first. Mark Sebastian, I am a fan of this trade.
Oh, yeah.
It has my personal seal. We need a little cartoonish stamp of Sebastian we can put on it, kind of like a book jacket quote thing, and to say it here. I'm a fan of this trade.
That's actually a good idea.
Put it up on your blog. It can be part of your marketing materials. All right.
Put the trade on the board. Yes.
All right, and then staying in the same neck of the woods here, we're going to jump around to one of these little biotechs we like to talk about every now and then. This one kind of personifies just how crazy these ones can be to trade these days. This is Raptor Pharmaceuticals, closed today at $5 even, down $2 or nearly 30%. And it got much lower intraday. It got down to about $3.90 at one point, so it was down about 40-odd% at one point today. So this one just getting crushed. And this is a biotech name. They had a phase 3 clinical trial of a nephropathic cystinosis drug get delayed. So say that one 5 times fast. And so that crushed the stock pretty aggressively. But surprisingly, and one of the reasons we thought this one was interesting. Oh, this is a name, by the way, does size paper. It does about 500 contracts a day. They did 15,000 today, so it's almost 16,000 today. So a big, heavy day here in RPTP. And the bulk of the activity, we saw a lot of buying on the AUG 7/2 today in terms of the near-term stuff. We saw about...
You would love these. I mean, this is another option block special.
Well, they're fun, especially in summertime when there's not exactly a lot of interesting activity lighting up the tape. You got to find the fun ones to parse, and this is a...
my only regret is that there's not 90,000 of them on one strike.
Yeah, that would be great. You had that show we did last week where it was every single contract. I forgot what name it was, but every single contract was on one put strike. I think the entire day's volume.
It was awesome. It was awesome.
This is something we don't see every day. All of it in one big block.
What was that? It was across the entire board. It was only one strike.
Yeah, it was only one strike.
Month.
It was. I'll have to go dig through the notes from a couple shows. It was a week ago. I'll go dig through. I'll find it before the end of the show what we talked about. But we do so many odd blocks these days that they slip in and they slip out. But the AUG 7/2, you saw a big block for this name anyway. About 500 going up early in the morning. About 1,800 total on the day went up of these AUG 7/2, and people were jumping in to buy these things despite what's been going on in this name where the thing sold off nearly 40% at one point today. But that's pretty aggressive near-term paper. The thing's got to rally 30-odd% for these calls to even start becoming relevant. But we saw some more level-headed people diving into the NOV 5, so longer-term, higher probability calls here, and these went up about 4,100 times on a previous open interest of 200 contracts, so all opening paper. And these were getting gobbled up as well, people thinking about for around $1.28 or so, people thinking that there's a lot more upside, particularly on the longer term here in this name. And it's hard to disagree with them given the rampant swings we've been seeing in the underlying on this name lately. Not surprising, the vol is up across the board on this one, and we saw, total volume of nearly 16,000 contracts, which is just a record out here. So a lot of people trading in and out on this crazy, crazy news. And this obviously is a name that's a core holding for Know Your Options.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
This is the kind of thing you want to put the elderly grandmothers into in your portfolios, I think, there, Uncle Mike.
If I'm trying to get sued, yeah.
All right, and we're gonna change gears completely for the final one here. I think Sebastian will like this one. He is an apparel man, talking about Skechers USA Inc.
Oh, SKX.
Ticker symbol SKX. They closed today at $14.64. Up about 16 cents or about 1% on the day. This is the name that does about 2,000 contracts a day, and they did about 5,000 today. And looks like same thing here. People are expecting this one to rally as well. A lot of bullish paper coming in. They have earnings as well, so this is the earnings play. They have earnings after the bell on Wednesday. In spite of that, people are moving a lot of their liquidity out here, their bullish liquidity out to a little bit longer term to September and October. We got about 500 of the SEP 15s going up for about 85 cents, which is an open interest of pretty much nothing, about 60 contracts. This is all opening paper on September. So people thinking this thing's going to rally, and even more size going up on the October 15s, where about 2,300 or so. It went up today on previous open interest of a little over 1,000. The bulk of this was people coming in to buy these for $1.07. So obviously, an earnings surprise would help this, but this is not necessarily earnings paper. You have a few cycles in these, particularly in the October calls.
Well, that would be more playing the back-to-school retail report, wouldn't it, than it would anything beyond that?
Probably, yeah. I mean, this kind of name like Skechers, I don't know what moves them, aside from earnings, what moves them aside from,
well,
I would think, the Q3 earnings reports of how they're doing.
Kim Kardashian's on a diet, and because she's getting married, and she wears Skechers, so it could be that. So apparently they give her butt a lift.
Who is this? I didn't hear you said.
Kim Kardashian.
Oh, Kim Kardashian.
Of Kim and Ray J fame.
Yeah, I was just looking. I looking at some for the old commercials of Skechers, which I was a big fan of. But it looks like Kim Kardashian's their spokeswoman now.
Yeah. By the way, they showed. I was looking in Life and Style the other day.
As you are wont to do.
Yeah. Well, my wife, proprietor of BigBlondeHair.com, is required to read that type of stuff, and so anytime I'm sitting down to do my business, there's always a Life and Style next to me, and because that's where she reads it. Anyway, so I'm reading Life and Style, and Kim Kardashian's butt is the biggest thing I've ever seen in my life. It is shockingly huge. I mean, we all knew about the junk in the trunk, but they showed a picture of her in a swimsuit, and I was like, holy bananas.
I like the job massive. Where that's part of your job description, is having to read Life and Style and Us Weekly and all these other magazines / rags.
I know. I'm like, honey, turn that junk off. Shut up.
My wife would love that
That's
job.
What
I might have to get her a gig with your wife.
That'd be great. She wants to write about a reality show.
All right. And so, yeah, we're going to close it out today in the old odd block with some upside love for Skechers. And, of course, also from Mark Sebastian to Kim Kardashian's backside. And with that, we're going to close out the old odd block. And it was indeed quite odd today. And roll right into the Xpress Block.
The Xpress Block, brought to you by Options Express. Options Express lets you trade where and when you want for every level of trading. From advanced charting, free daily trading ideas, and free educational resources, Options Express is the online broker for all traders. Best of all, Options Express allows you to trade stocks, options, and futures all in a single account on powerful yet easy-to-use trading platforms, including mobile devices. Visit optionsexpress.com/OX Radio for your free account. Options Express is a member of FINRA, SIPC, and NFA.
All right, and welcome to the Xpress Block. And as you surely know by now, this is the portion of the show where Mr. Grigus, for the third time in a row, takes the reins and runs down what's been going on in the merry, merry world of Options Express. So, Mr. Grigus, what is going on in Options Express land?
Okay, a few things that the customers were talking about. One was Apple hitting $400. I don't think we even addressed that today. I always find it strange when oil hit $100 exactly. That was the high intraday high for that day when that happened. 3 years ago. Today, Apple hits exactly 400 and then pulls back. I always find it suspicious when that happens. But
so let's hit that for a second. Then, what does everyone think then about right here 400 straddle? Where do we go? Tusa, you're inactive right now in Apple right now. You've obviously unwound some of your stuff post-earnings. Are you still the hardcore Apple bull here, or are you starting to step back a little bit?
Still the hardcore Apple bull, but in the near term, I want to see it establish 400 before I get a little bit more bullish on it. I'm probably going to tighten up some puts on it tomorrow, quite frankly.
You got to roll those 325s. You got to.
Oh, those have been rolled.
Oh, you up to like 330 now?
335. No. We're at 375. We'll probably roll up again. We'll take a look and see what happens, but we'll probably be rolling up again in the next couple days.
At least it got the $5 strikes. I think before we broke 200, they only had $10 strikes. It was a pain.
Yeah.
What were they trading in Apple today? Were they getting long? Were they getting short?
They were getting long before it took out the highs from the previous 2 days. I mean, I don't know. Everything looks bullish here. I think you just kind of continue to wait for pullbacks. So I'm going to just stay away from it. I can't. I've never been wrong more than about this company. I know even 9 months ago I used to make fun of them, and they were a marketing firm. And I figured since I got rid of my my iPhone that everyone else did, but it doesn't appear to be that way since they've pretty much doubled in sales. And my mom's got an iPad playing solitaire on there. It's an $800 pack of cards pretty much for a lot of people out there.
Yeah, I dumped my iPhone and I promptly went out and got an iPad because all the Android tablets sucked and I needed a tablet for what I was doing. So I was kind of out the door with one and in the door with the other. So I didn't really help. I kind of scratched on that, I think.
Yeah, I think that Android will catch up on their tablets or in their and I think they'll be better in the long run. But I mean, right now, I don't know. We were also talking about that fake store in China a little bit because they have more pictures out on it today, and they said the actual employees of that Chinese knockoff Apple store actually believe they are working for Apple. So looks like they brainwash you in the government and in the private sector as well. OXPS, we have our earnings tomorrow, so I believe that's before the open. So I know a lot of people here will be looking at that. Dunkin Donuts IPO, we had a lot of people calling in about that. I actually could not believe that wasn't a public company. I don't have their symbol written down.
The donuts,
DN-Can?
Yeah.
DN-Can, okay.
You know what I mean? I got to imagine them do great. I don't shop at Starbucks, even though my wife personally built the one out in New Lenox. I think in 10 years that I've known her, she's never skipped a day at Starbucks, pretty much. I mean, and I think Dunkin Donuts is going to do well as well. They're pretty much in every corner down here.
What was the other one? The Krispy Kreme. At least Dunkin Donuts has coffee and other things to sustain them. They're not as susceptible to an Atkins type implosion like what crushed Krispy Kreme.
I think Krispy Kreme. I mean, did you look at it? I think in the last 6 months. I looked at it last week.
It's really bounced. Yeah.
I think it's up like 100% in the last 6 months.
Yeah.
KKD, right?
No wonder I've been gaining all that weight.
I was going to say something too, Sal, but then I'm on the same boat as you. It isn't KDD?
Yeah, it's a KKD. It's gapped from about five. It's gone from about 5.5 up to 9.5 or so. Yeah.
Isn't that your old sorority there, pal? Kappa Delta.
No, mine was I felt a thigh.
Oh. Nice.
Krispy Kreme used to have a shop.
Mike Kustas was ate a lot of pie.
Ate a lot of pie. There it is.
Mine was the football team. We beat the tar out of you frat boys.
But there was a Krispy Kreme right across the street from the Board of Trade. I mean, it was.
Yeah, there is.
If there was going to be a location.
Yeah.
Now it's you can buy those. There you go. Now you can buy steaming beef or whatever that is. I've never had one.
Steamy beef.
And then
I've been buying steamy beef for years.
I know. That's an assist, if I may, please. There you go. One of the things that we did add, it's probably been out for a long time, and I think we've actually had it for about 9 months, but it seems to be gaining an acceptance on the way to fund your account. As I mentioned in the past, you can fund through a wire. Nobody likes to pay the $25 wire fee by their bank, which in this day and age and all electronic money movements, I can't believe they're getting away with still charging that. But ACH, which is automated clearinghouse, it takes 2 to 3 days. Check, obviously, if you're still using snail mail. But bill pay, which is probably how all of us pay our bills right now, we're now set up where we can accept bill pay, and it's usually next day your funds are cleared, which is free and a lot quicker than some of the other methods we have. But I did have a caller late last Friday said, "Do you accept PayPal?" And I'm surprised we don't now, because in a sense they're becoming somewhat of a bank. And he goes, "Well, they pay 4.5% interest." And I almost fell out, because I recently put some money into like a year CD, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, the time I'm wasting to go over and buy the CD is about the amount of interest money I'm going to get on buying the CD. But 4.5% interest to hold your money at PayPal, I thought was pretty excessive. I mean, doesn't that usually...
That probably reflects, even to this day, there's still the lack of confidence people have in PayPal to do any sort of large, bank-like transaction outside of maybe managing your eBay account and the revenues you have from that, which I guess could be substantial if you're an active online seller. But I think they've had so many problems in the past. Granted, a lot of those are behind them, but freezing accounts, having accounts hacked, obviously they still need an incentive to get people to come in the door. So
put some money in over there.
Can you buy a PayPal CD? Do they even offer that?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
But it's not. And then obviously it's not FDIC insured. So something bad happens. So well.
Well, and the other issue, and part of the reason is the way PayPal rapes people on transaction costs.
You're right.
You get done executing an order through PayPal, and your butt hurts.
Well, I don't get that feeling, but
The second butt reference of the day from Sebastian. Let's see if we can get a third before the close.
But, in a nutshell, on a Monday, not much going on, but those are the four things. Gold, Apple, Dunkin Donuts is really what we're watching this week in Options Express earnings.
So, just for the record, then, you're getting long a ton of OXPS then after the earnings. That's when your blackout period is over, right?
Yeah, right. I do own shares of Options Express. They have pulled back. I wouldn't be surprised if we continue an uptrend here in the coming weeks. But we're at 1540. I think we're trading at 18 right around merger time.
Wasn't the deal in the high 17s? Isn't that the price?
It was under 1910, I want to say.
Of course, it was contingent on Schwab price though as well. So.
Yeah, I mean we're pretty much linked to them right now. 1.1 shares to Schwab, but I still like to see what our metrics are.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. All right.
I'm interested in what's going to happen with those lawsuits that are still filed against you guys. Well, really against, and I don't know what the story is going to be there, but that's, I'll say it one more time. You guys sold yourselves too cheap, and I know you're not allowed to opinionate, and that's fine, but I think that you're such a good company that I would have wanted more money.
All right, and that's going to do it for the old Express Block. And now we will roll right into Around the Block.
Around the Block.
All right, and welcome to Around the Block. This is, of course, the portion of the show where we discuss what's coming up on our collective horizons for the next few sessions. And debt kerfuffle aside, because no one knows what's happening out there. That's just a lot of back and forth down in D.C. Of course, that'll obviously be on the front of everyone's minds for the next few sessions as they get this stuff hopefully worked out, and that'll probably be sending us to swing a little bit more. Of course, with Sebastian talking down the market, and of course Grigus getting long the market, then maybe I might want to indeed add some downside protection these days, because Grigus is my contrary indicator.
You're out of the family.
Whenever, because you've been bullish, you've been bearish for so long. So when you turn, I know it's time for me to turn on the market as well. But yes, we do have a lot going on tomorrow, as you said last week. In the live show, there's a Super Tuesday of earnings tomorrow. We have Amazon coming out after the bell. That's one of the first ones, and this is the name we've talked about a lot. And they are at the upside of their range as well. And a lot of people, I'm sure, a lot of premium sellers in Amazon over in OX. John, you see a lot of that over there?
The profitable people I see selling premium all the time. I think premiums and vol continues to go up the more we get earnings results and earnings movement like Google and Apple. I think you get to a point where you can pretty much sell the straddle or strangle and do fairly well, or even take a position, directional position, and write a bear call spread or a bull put spread. But no, we do see a lot of premium sellers. I like to see the sellers come out right around earnings more than these, as I spoke about last Thursday, of these, I'm going to buy a 50 point out of the money call, and this thing's going to go up $40. And so, yeah, I mean, I think it's a good time to educate people on vol, and when we have earnings, and next Tuesday will probably be no different.
Yeah, exactly. This is a time when people like to lean on this. Of course, people have been burned by, people talk about Netflix as the Widowmaker, but Amazon has had some good movements, I think, lately too, to shake out a few of those degenerate premium sellers who like to hit the straddles and a few other things like that. But nonetheless, Amazon at the upper end of its range, the vol has come off a little bit over the past month or so out there in Amazon. So not exactly the juiciest of sales, but yet nonetheless, it's not a quiet one either. Of course, we have Ford as well. Tusaw, how are you positioning ahead of the big Ford earnings? Are you still short the 13s?
No, just long the stock at this stage. I think just what we're doing right now, we've bought to close several calls at some pretty cheap prices on the covered call side of it. So we're just going to ride this and see where the Ford vehicle takes us.
Hey, these AUG 8 puts are at a nickel, or I'm sorry, at 2 cents. You should load up. That's some good downside right there, sir.
We'll do it.
Good 60% downside is what you need in your KYO portfolio.
We'll do this.
But Yeah, forward close today, 13.17, hovering around that 13 handle again. We'll see if it breaks it to the downside with the earnings. They are before the open, actually, tomorrow. So if you haven't positioned in Ford, it's too little too late unless you go into the... you're pretty much out of luck unless you're in the after hours doing the stock. And then what else? Netflix. When is Netflix is coming out?
Tonight.
Are they tonight as well? Let's see. Yeah, actually, they're right now. Yeah, let's see what's going on in Netflix. They are... Oh, Netflix live update for our audience. They're down almost 30 handles. The Widowmaker strikes again.
I set up the sweetest trade today in Netflix for my option pit students. You will love
enlighten us, sir.
All right. I was looking, and I thought that front month weekly was too cheap relative to how much Netflix could move. So I said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to buy 10 of the Netflix 280 puts for $13.10. All right? Then, to make the trade delta neutral and on a rally, net weighted Vega short, we're going to sell the 320 puts at $43 6 times. The net on that position, of course, is 0 delta, maybe a touch short, but if the market dives, it gets long weighted Vega and long a ton of gamma, and on a rally it would be short weighted Vega and long gamma, and this went exactly the way I was thinking it would.
Yeah, this is looking pretty good right here. Of course, the stock was closed at 281.53, so that 280 straddle went out at about $27. This thing looks like it's moved about that much already, almost about $26 in the after hours already. So if you were crushing that straddle alone or that strangle, you probably got bit once again in the Widowmaker. Looks like your little ratio downside put spread might work out if this thing opens up down here today and doesn't rebound a bit before the open tomorrow. Doesn't look like it will, though.
No, I find that hard to believe.
So I guess all those naysayers who were saying that this might be the end of the dream, the end of the extreme run-up for Netflix, perhaps they've finally been heard. Looks like people were saying that was anecdotal. People weren't canceling their accounts, but maybe I haven't seen the news. I haven't seen the guidance. The guidance obviously not bullish, so maybe they're thinking that those recent developments.
Is it a guidance thing, or is it they mentioned some sort of fundamental thing they're doing? I mean, who knows? Maybe he mentioned.
I doubt their earnings were affected by their announcement last week. So I mean, it's got to be.
Maybe this time he said instead of 2 lattes, he said 4 shots of espresso, and the market went running.
Yeah, it's like I'm looking here for some quick notes. It says new rates are going to be higher. Maybe the rumors of the Apple Hulu thing are going to are spooking people who are investing in Netflix as well, because when Apple comes to play in your game, that usually signals bad things for people who are in that space already. And that's talk. You've guys heard that rumor, right? That Apple might be acquiring Hulu.
Yeah, no, I heard that this morning, but I think it's more of a. It wasn't going to be Apple. It was looking like maybe the savior for Yahoo. But it looks like they beat earnings, $1.26 versus $1.11, right?
Yeah, but
so
they
guided lower somewhere, yeah.
Or it's just the raising rates, and I'm sorry, but Apple entering Apple hasn't affected Amazon stock price, so I don't buy that, and it certainly hasn't affected Google stock price, so I think it has more to do with their approach, and they must be talking a game that people aren't liking. That's got it. I mean, that's the only answer.
I'm looking here. Like I said, I still don't have all the information here, but they're talking about why rates are going up. Maybe they were hinting that the licensing fees they're going to have to pay for some of this content going down the road might be increasing, and that could have spooked investors as well, because they've been kind of skating by on some of these deals that they inked years ago when they were much smaller, and people kind of just gave them these little ancillary deals and ancillary licensing rates, and now people are saying, wait a minute, you guys are 2/3 of all primetime internet traffic. Maybe we should increase the rates that you guys are paying to license our content. So just guessing, I haven't seen all the numbers yet, but just guessing that might be what's hitting Netflix. So once again, 253 now in the after hour, so coming up 28 handles down. So coming up on pretty much blown through that weekly straddle already. So yeah, a lot of fun stuff.
Let you guys down on a trade? Never.
Never. And also, just to round out the old Around the Block, we also have Electronic Arts and good old Eastman Kodak coming out tomorrow. Electronic Arts after the close, Eastman Kodak before the close. I mentioned them because a lot of people were trading them. I think even Mr. Navabi was slinging some size on Eastman Kodak last month ahead of that big patent announcement they were going to have with Apple. That, of course, didn't go their way, but a lot of people were selling those June 3 puts at the time. I think a lot of people are now stuck holding this stock down here in the 2.5 range, so people might be pondering what to do with some positions ahead of Kodak earnings. Maybe they want to write some upside cover calls to get out of that stock, or just dump it entirely because the thing's trading $2.33 now. Not exactly a market mover these days. Funny to see how hard, or maybe sad to see the hard times that a once monopolistic name like Kodak has fallen upon, trading $2.33. Can't even get out of their own way, depending on patent lawsuits to make themselves viable again.
Well, ever since they lost Bill Cosby to Pudding Pops, that was the end of it.
Was he the Kodak guy back in the day?
Wasn't he the everything guy back in the day? I mean, was there a product that Bill Cosby did not?
Pudding Pops, I remember. Kodak, I don't know.
No, he did. I'm sure he did Kodak. Maybe, or was it Fuji?
We might have to assign Tusaw to research that one and get the answer for us on the next show.
Agreed.
The Cosby Block.
The Cosby Block. All right. And that is going to do it for this episode of Around the Block. It's also going to do it for this episode of the Option Block. I want to thank all of our listeners out there for downloading and streaming and subscribing to this show. And also want to thank all of our panelists who so gamely suffered through their technological and locked outside mishaps today and made it to the show today. And so starting with you, Mr. Grigus, what is coming up over in OX land you want to make our listeners know about? Let our listeners know about, if I spoke proper English.
I was, sorry, I didn't know if I had a mute on or not. I was looking through the webinars today, and I know we've had a lot of questions and a lot of discussions on the podcast about Vol, and one of the ones that caught my eye was a VIX webinar that we have coming up that I actually signed up myself, so I'm able to attempt to hold my own with Mr. Seabass. But on August 9th, 2 p.m. Eastern, VIX term structure and trading VIX options. Session with Russell Rhodes, and hopefully be working with education soon to get the one and only Seabass up here as well.
You know what you should do in September. Actually, one of two things. You'll like this, and this is going to be my section for what I've got going on, Mark. I am doing a 5-part series on volatility, the volatility products, volatility futures, where I'm going to cover basically the entire scope of volatility in a 4-part course plus a wrap-up. And it's going to be in conjunction with a 1-day course that I'm teaching at the SIBO called How to Trade the VIX. I'm going to be teaching it with Russell Rhodes, that first one, and then the secondary class is going to be all me. You should get like yourself and Tim Navabi and Crazy Kurzakowski and a couple of your educators who could clearly learn a thing or two. And maybe that Josh Sakanik, and you should all come check out that grouping of webinars. Put it out on OX's dime.
Where's it? Were you doing it out of SIBO?
Yeah, well, the SIBO one is going to be, I want to say, September 10th. Is that the Saturday? It's the Saturday after Labor Day. And then my class, it's Saturday, September 10th. And then my class starts that following Tuesday at 5 p.m. So, and you can sign up for OptionPit for it at optionpit.com/events.
All right, and Uncle Mike, what do you have coming up over in Know Your Options Inc. land?
This Sunday night's webinar is Plan the Trade, Trade the Plan. For more info on it, stop by our website, knowYourOptionsInc.com. We're excited about it.
All right. And that is going to do it for this episode of the Option Block. I want to thank all of our listeners for downloading and streaming and subscribing to this show and making it such a success. And I also want to give an extra thanks out to all of our listeners who came by the live event last week. It was a great time. We'll definitely have to do it again sometime in the near future. It was a ball. Maybe we can add a live Option Block panel to some upcoming OX event you guys have coming up in the near future.
Oh, that would be great.
Or a Christmas special.
Yeah, it'll be our own Star Wars Christmas special. We could have B. Arthur sing and everything. It'll be fantastic. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time right here on the Option Block.
Become a part of the Option Block. Just visit www.theoptionsinsider.com/forum to post a question for the hosts. You can also submit questions to twitter.com/optionblock or leave a voicemail at 312-544-9356. Make it interesting and your question just might make it on the air. The Options Block is property of the Options Insider Incorporated. All rights reserved. The preceding program was a presentation of the Options Insider Radio Network. For more programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com/radio or search for Options Insider Radio in iTunes.